In a modest house, the kitchen is busy in the morning.
Breakfast is ready. Zach, Marie, honey.
The wife puts plates on the table for her kids and husband. It's a normal morning with everyone getting ready for the day. The kids, dressed for school, come into the kitchen and sit down to eat.
Good morning, Mom.
The husband comes in, grabs his phone from where it was charging, and puts it in his briefcase.
I'm running late, honey. I'm not going to have time to eat breakfast this morning.
Oh, I thought today was your late day.
Oh, I thought so too. Unfortunately, the office called and my 2 o'clock meeting is being pushed up to 11. I must get to the office now to prepare.
The wife walks with her husband to the door, runs back to kitchen to grab coffee and bag lunch off the counter.
Well, at least take the coffee and the lunch I made for you.
They say goodbye with a quick kiss.
Thank you, baby. You always know what I need. I'll be home as soon as I can.
The husband hurries to his car. The wife watches him leave, smiling and waving. As the car leaves, she closes the front door. On his drive, the husband's cell phone starts to ring through the car speaker. Name, Dr. Ross, pops up on the caller ID.
Hello, good morning. You're speaking to Alfred Smith.
Hello, Mr. Smith. Do you have time to speak about your condition?
I sure do. Matter of fact, I'm on my way to you for treatment.
Well, then you should get here quickly so you can get the antidote. The poison is spreading fast, and I need to suck it out to stop further contamination.
I'm 10 minutes away. Do I have enough time?
Barely, but I'll make sure you survive. When you get here, come to the 3rd floor, room 210. The passcode is 6579. I'll be waiting for you.
Dr. Ross hangs up before he could say anything. He looks both anxious and excited as he drives to Dr. Ross's house. He pulls up to Dr. Ross' residence. Someone photographs the husband entering the building, knocking on the room door, and a beautiful woman pulling him inside. The photographer is also able to take a few photos of the sexual misconduct outside of the building, through the 2nd-story window. After he kisses Dr. Ross goodbye and leaves the building, he returns to his car and proceeds to drive to work. Dr. Ross prepares to meet her next client. She hears a knock at the door, checks the clock and notices it is early.
One moment, please. You're pretty early.
Without checking, Dr. Ross swings the door open, and she is greeted by a hooded figure wearing a monstrous mask. Before she can say a word, Dr. Ross is punched in the nose and immediately knocked out. Dr. Ross awakens to the sound of classical music. She looks around and notices she has been tied to a chair with 2 bottles filled with liquid in front of her. She has a needle stuck inside her veins on both arms. The room is grey, cold, and dark. There is only a small light coming from a lamp swinging right above her. She gets scared and starts screaming.
Help me!
The banana killer responds in a distorted voice.
Good evening, Dr. Ross. I think it's funny to hear a person trained to help in stressful situations, begging for help in a stressful situation.
The banana killer laughs.
It shows a profession that is supposed to make people think better, act better, be better. But how can this be achieved if you don't even make better decisions yourself? You're a fraud.
What are you talking about? I haven't done anything wrong to anyone.
You haven't done anything wrong to anyone?
The banana killer laughs.
Do you believe Vanessa Smith, the wife of Alfred Smith, would agree?
Vanessa, Alfred, what do you mean? Did Vanessa plan this?
Vanessa doesn't have the courage to confront the nail tech who consistently messes up on her nails, let alone the woman who is consistently creeping with her husband. Let's call this karma. This is the payment for the decisions that you have made. You chose to mess with a married man. You chose to come between a husband and wife. You chose to risk your career for sexual gratification. You chose to be a whore. So today you get to choose how you will die. However you choose is and will purely be your decision.
What do you mean? I do not want to make any choices. I do not want to choose anything.
Well, Dr. Jessica Ross, choosing to do nothing is also a choice that will also cost you. See, before you woke up, you were injected with a rare poison. A poison that will eventually eat you from the inside out. You have 48 hours before your stomach, liver, kidneys, and then your heart is corroded. In front of you are 2 valves. Each valve is connected to an IV that has been placed in each arm. One IV contains acid, the other a deadly amount of fentanyl. One IV will kill you in a matter of seconds. The other IV will allow you comfort as you slowly corrode from the inside out. Unfortunately for you, there is no antidote for your condition, only death. See, Jessica, your life choices have led you to me, and for the choices you have made, I feel no sympathy, just like you felt no sympathy fucking someone else's husband. You are paid for your decision-making skills. Well, your last decision will be how you choose to die, and choose wisely. Regardless, I will be back in 48 hours to clean up the mess.
The banana killer walks away and slides a big green door shut. Then Jessica begins to cry hysterically, tries to pull herself from the restraints and screams at the top of her lungs. She cannot budge, and she knows no one can hear her. She examines the valves. Then she feels a deep pain within her stomach. She cringes and throws up blood. She knows the poison is working, but she cannot decide which valve to choose. She continues to look at both valves, scared to pull the pin. She looks at the clock hanging on the wall and notices it's 4 p.m. She sits there until she falls asleep. Jessica wakes up screaming. The poison is in full effect. She looks at the clock. It's 10 p.m. Her stomach is cramping unbelievably. It's becoming hard to sit still. She releases her bowels onto herself. She throws up blood. She cries hysterically. She wants to choose the fentanyl. She'll do anything to ease the pain.
Which valve is the fentanyl? I cannot take this pain. Jesus, help me.
Jessica throws up blood again. She releases her bowels again, but this time it is blood. She chooses the right valve. She reaches and grabs the pin. The fluid slowly enters the tube and travels to her vein. She chose the valve of acid. The acid pours into the veins of Jessica. She begins to scream as her left arm begins to dissolve from the inside out. Her arm, where the needle was inserted, painfully dissolves. Her left arm dissolved so much, she was able to pull her arm from the restraint. Unable to use the dissolved arm to remove the other restraint. She uses her teeth and pulls herself free. Rips out the IV from her right arm. She tries to walk, but the poison has rendered her legs weak. Her stomach is in so much pain, she vomits blood again as she falls to the ground. She slides her body, the best she could, towards the door, grabs the handle and notices it is locked. Jessica cries, screams, and rolls around in agony. A hiker running on an abandoned hiking trail with her dog. The dog takes off, running into the woods.
Jordy, get back here, Jordy.
The hiker chases her dog into the woods, and with her dog stumbles upon a mutilated body. She screams and throws up, grabs her dog, runs and calls 911. Detective John Henchins arrives at the autopsy office. Dr. Swan is conducting the autopsy with a look of horror on his face.
A crazy scene we found, Doctor. What happened to this body?
I've never seen anything like this before. There are 2 types of poison inside this lady. One is very rare, septic sactone. The other is oxalic acid. She didn't stand a chance, and she died a painful death. What I found stranger was a full banana with no signs of acid, basically fresh lodged within the victim's throat. It looks as if after death, this banana was stuffed down her esophagus. No prints have been found on the body, but I did find semen. I had to use dental records to identify the victim as Jessica Ross, a psychiatrist from Long Beach. She must have been targeted by one of her patients. Only a sick individual would do something like this to a person.
Leave the suspects to me, Doctor. I'll do whatever it takes to bring this sick bastard to justice.
Then Detective Henchins angrily walks away. woman and man are walking into the laundromat, holding hands, kissing and giggling. The man phone rings. He tells the lady he's with he'll be right back. He walks outside.
Hello?
Hey, baby, how was your day? What time will you be home?
Hey, darling, my day's going well. I'm very busy today, so I may not get home until later tonight.
Sadly, the wife responds.
Another late night. I was hoping we could eat dinner together and watch a movie.
Not tonight, honey. I'm sorry, but I'll make it up to you this weekend. Pick a restaurant and I'll make sure we're there.
We don't have to go to a restaurant. I just want to spend time with you. I feel like we never have time for each other anymore. I feel like something has changed.
Don't start this, Kathy. You know I'm at work, and I don't have time to coddle your emotions. Work is busy, and that's why we don't have a lot of time together. Don't you like your new home and fancy car? Well, that stuff cost, and the expense is time. So, let me get back to work, and you have a wonderful day.
Humbled, the wife responds.
I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to upset you. I appreciate everything you do for me. I love you. And you also have a wonderful day at work.
I love you too. Bye.
The phone hangs up. Someone is taking photos of the husband returning inside the laundromat, swooping up his lady companion and giving her a big kiss. They both disappear into the bathroom for at least 25 minutes. The mystery photographer takes photos of them leaving the bathroom, playfully folding clothes, kissing, and surprisingly publicly presenting themselves as a lovely couple. Detective Henshins is eating breakfast at a local diner called Chubby's, an extremely popular food spot for everyone who lives within a 20-mile radius.
Do you need more coffee, Detective?
No, I'm fine for now. Thank you for asking.
His cell phone rings.
Hello, Dr. Swanson. Do you have a match on the DNA?
Yes, I do. The semen found inside Jessica Ross belongs to a stockbroker by the name of Alfred Smith. With a simple database search, I was able to find out he is married with 2 children. His address is 3139 Winston Ave. Tread carefully. If he's the killer, he's a sick motherfucker.
No worries. I'm on my way to his home now. If you find any other information, don't hesitate to call.
Detective Henshins stands from his seat, reaches into his wallet, throws $40 onto the table, and exited the diner. Vanessa Smith answers the door.
Hello, how may I help you?
Hello, I'm Detective Henshins with Conway's Homicide Division. Is your husband Alfred Smith home?
The detective peeks into the home and notices a young girl standing behind Vanessa.
No, he's not home. He's still at work. Is everything okay? Is Alfred okay?
I need to speak to your husband now. It's urgent. Where does your husband currently work?
He works downtown at Stanley and Coy's brokerage firm. Everything okay? Is Alfred in trouble?
If you speak with your husband before I do, tell him to give me a call. Thank you.
Detective Henshins hands Vanessa his card, but doesn't say anything to bring her comfort. He just walks away. Vanessa is confused. She at once closes the door and calls Alfred's cell.
Is everything okay with Daddy?
Phone rings.
Vanessa, you know not to call me while I'm at work. What is it?
Alfred, a detective just left. He was asking questions about you. Is everything all right? Is there something I should know?
Asking questions about me?
Yes, you...
It must be some type of confusion. Don't worry.
Well, he's on his way to see you. He asked me where you worked, and I didn't think about it before I answered.
You gave him my work location. I don't need this type of drama on the job. Are you stupid, Vanessa?
What was I supposed to do? It was from the homicide department to caught me off guard. I'm sorry, Alfred.
Homicide. Did he leave a number?
Yes. 3176982324.
Alfred hangs up the phone without saying goodbye.
stupid woman bringing drama to my job. Why did I choose such a dummy?
Alfred picks up the phone and calls the detective. Phone rings.
Homicide. This is Detective Henshins. How may I help you?
Hello, Detective Henshins. Alfred Smith, my wife said you needed to speak with me.
I sure do. I'm actually on the elevator on my way to your office.
You already here? I'm outside. I stepped out to make this call. I'm in front of the building. Is everything okay? Did someone get hurt?
We'll discuss everything when I see you. I should be down there in less than 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I won't.
Detective Henshins exits the building, walks up to a fit-looking young man, about 5'9", no older than 38, slim-built, short dark brown hair, pacing in front of the building.
Are you Alfred Smith?
Yes, sir, I am.
Detective Henshins grabs Alfred's arm and places him in handcuffs. There are people walking in and out of the building. Everyone is watching the commotion. The scene has caught the attention of individuals on different floors within the building, and many of his co-workers are watching from the windows.
Alfred Smith, you are under arrest for the murder of Jessica Ross. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
Jessica? Jessica's dead? I didn't kill Jessica.
Detective Henshins drags Alfred to his car in handcuffs, Alfred screaming the entire way.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Detective Henshins closes the car door, jumps in the driver's seat, and drives away. The couple has completed their load of laundry and decides to grab a bite to eat at the local diner Chubby's. The waiters know the gentleman is married, and the woman he is with is not his wife. They keep giving the couple side eyes mixed with dirty looks, but the couple do not care. They continue to eat their dinner, smiling and grinning, kissing between bites.
Mr. Ford, do you need anything else?
No, Diane, I have everything I need.
The server turns and looks at the lover.
And what about you?
No, I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Can you bring us the check, Diane?
Gladly.
The server walks off and returns a few moments later with the check.
Trudies, I hope you enjoyed your dinner, Mr. Ford, and please tell Amy I said hello.
I sure did, Diane, and I sure will.
The server walks off.
You better not leave her a tip. She said that on purpose. She sees you with me. Why is she mentioning your wife?
Come on now, sugar. This is a small town. Some of the ladies don't take too kind to new relationships. They're stuck in the past. Let's go home and have some fun. Run you a bubble bath and help you relax for the night.
Okay, Daddy, I won't let these old heifers ruin our night.
You got that right.
Mr. Ford pays the tab and smacks Kimberly on the butt as they leave the diner. The mysterious photographer has captured everything. It's about 9 p.m. Mr. Ford and Kimberly pulls up to a small home with a beautiful flower garden out front. Mr. Ford walks Kimberly inside and does not leave until about 11:30 p.m. He stumbles to his car, a clear sign he's intoxicated, but he proceeds to drive home. 20 minutes later, there's a knock on Kimberly's door.
I'm coming, John. Did you forget something?
Kimberly swings the door open but is met with horror. John is not at the door. She's greeted by the horrific mask of the banana killer. Kimberly tries to slam the door shut, but the banana killer shoves his steel boot between the door. Then he smashes the door open, knocking Kimberly to the ground. She kicks and screams. The banana killer grabs the lamp off the table and whacks it across her face, breaking her nose. Then he whams it repeatedly over Kimberly's head, knocking her out cold. Kimberly awakens to the sound of classical music. She notices she's in a makeshift laundromat. Half of her body has been stuffed inside a washing machine and her hands tied behind her back. Her head, her face, she's in pain. She tries to scream, but her mouth hurts. She thinks her jaw is broken. Kimberly doesn't know. Her terror is just beginning. Alfred Smith has been placed inside an interrogation room. He sits silently, legs shaking, nervous, awaiting what's next. An hour passes. He begins to sob, thoughts of Jessica's death, the chances of losing his wife and children, the ending of his career, all crosses his mind. He wipes the tears from his eyes as Detective Henshins enters the room.
So, Alfred Smith, are you ready to admit to the killing of Jessica Ross?
I didn't kill Jessica. I love Jessica. Why would I kill her?
Alfred exclaimed.
Everything we're discussing is being recorded.
Detective Henshins turns on the voice recorder.
How did you love Jessica? Did your wife know you loved Jessica?
Of course not. I met Jessica 2 years ago. I was dealing with a lot of stress on my job, crunching numbers and meeting my quotas. I started to bring my stress home to my family. And I went through a period of depression, and I just overall wasn't handling life well. So I hired her as my therapist.
How did your therapist become your lover?
It just happened. It wasn't planned. As I told Jessica about my life and my struggles, we grew closer. It first started with understanding, then we were able to relate to each other. Our backgrounds were similar. Overbearing parents, few friends, high goals. We just understood one another.
Detective Henshins shook his head.
How did your wife feel about all of this? You don't think she had a clue about the affair?
No, she only knew Jessica as my therapist. As far as my wife knew, we only met on Wednesdays.
How often did you and Jessica meet?
Every day. I would meet with Jessica during my lunch break. I receive an hour lunch, and her office is 5 minutes from my job. Sometimes I was lucky enough to meet her before work or after work, depending on my workload.
How long were you married to your wife?
I was with my wife for 20 years, married for 13.
And you don't believe your wife noticed anything different about you since your affair started with Mrs. Ross?
No, she didn't have a clue.
Baffled, Detective Henshins looked at Alfred.
You're a stupid man, Mr. Smith.
Alfred gave the detective a blank stare.
What do you mean, detective? You think Vanessa knew about the affair? You think Vanessa had something to do with this?
I'm not sure what to think right now, but I do know you're a stupid man to believe a woman who has been with you for 20 years wouldn't notice you were having a 2-year-long affair.
Vanessa had no clue. She never confronted me about anything. She never mentioned anything.
Where were you on Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.?
On Tuesday, I was at work. I'm always at work on Tuesday by 7:30 a.m., and I do not leave until 4 p.m. The last time I saw Jessica was Friday morning, before I went into the office. I told my wife that I had to go in early, and rather me going to work, I met with Jessica at her apartment around 10 a.m. First we made love, and I left by noon.
Where do you believe your wife was?
My wife barely leaves the home. Except to take the children to school at 9 a.m. and pick them up around 2 p.m. Other than that, she's usually at home or stopping by the supermarket. How did Jessica die?
I will be the one asking the questions, not you. I'll check out your story.
I'm telling the truth.
Detective Henshins turns off the voice recorder and stands to leave.
For your sake, I hope so. Officer, please book Mr. Smith and have him placed within a cell away from the general population. This is a high-profile crime, and we need our suspect to survive long enough to face prosecution.
Sir, get up. Let's go.
The officer grabs Mr. Smith, places his hands behind his back, and puts on the cuffs.
How long will I have to stay here?
Until I prove you did not kill Dr. Ross.
Mr. Smith is taken to processing. Alfred Smith enters the jail. He feels like he's being watched.
Hey, that's the guy accused of gruesomely killing that beautiful doctor.
I heard he dissolved her insides with acid.
I heard he ate some of her.
Oh my God, he's sick.
He's sick. Don't put that sick piece of shit in a cell with me. I'm not sleeping anywhere near him.
Shut up, Fred. You don't make any decisions. You do what the fuck I say and sleep with whoever the fuck I decide.
You'll have a dead body on your hands if you put him in a cell with me. I might play with him a little first. See if he likes to be tortured as much as he likes torturing.
Looks like you're already a celebrity. For your safety, we'll keep you separate until you go in front of the judge. After that, you're on your own.
Alfred didn't know what to say. He knew crying wouldn't solve anything and would only show weakness. He stood silent, nodded his head, and followed the officer. At this moment, he knew listening to the officer would be the only way to keep himself safe. After processing, he entered a small cell.
Your officer, can I make a phone call? I never made my one phone call.
The officer reluctantly agreed and opened the cell.
Yes, the phones are on the left up against the wall. Do not talk to anyone. Go straight to the phones and come straight back to your cell.
Alfred nods in agreement. He walks out of the cell, heads straight towards the phones, grabs the closest one, and calls his wife. Vanessa answers.
Hello?
You are receiving a call from Conway Correctional Facility from Alfred Smith. Do you accept the charges?
Yes. Alfred, are you okay?
Vanessa asks, anxiously awaiting the reply.
Vanessa, I don't know. There's so much I need to tell you, but just know I did not kill Jessica Ross.
It's all over the news. Your friends and family have been calling me all day. I really don't know what to tell them, what to say to you or what to believe, Alfred. Were you having an affair with this woman?
Alfred hesitantly replied.
Yes.
You finally admit it. It took her death, jail, and ruining our lives for you to finally admit you weren't happy with me. What we built, our life. Why didn't you tell me? I've asked you on many occasions if you were happy, if you still loved me, if you still wanted to be married, and you gave me the same answer over and over again. Yes, honey, I love you, and only you. Well, I knew you were lying. I'm just happy you are finally admitting it.
Alfred held the phone in shock. He didn't know how to respond. He realized Detective Henshins was right. His wife knew about the affair.
What do you mean, Vanessa?
I hired a private investigator 3 months ago. I've known for 3 months that you were having an affair with that woman. I've asked you every day, is everything okay with us? I've asked you almost every night if you were happy, and you lied. You consistently lied to my face repeatedly. Why would you do that? And now, with your beloved gone, life ruined, you have the audacity to call me. What are you calling me for, Alfred? What do you have to say? Matter of fact, I don't care. It's probably more lies anyway. I've spoken to my attorney. I'm filing for divorce. Don't drop the soap, you sick bitch.
Vanessa hangs up the phone. Alfred's surprised by what he just heard. In the back of his mind, he knew he deserved it, but it didn't stop the pain he felt in his heart. He slowly hung up the phone and began walking back to his cell. He noticed the guard who was supposed to be watching him was nowhere in sight. He tried to speed walk back to his cell, but he wasn't quick enough. 3 men, twice his size, emerged from the cell in front of him, grabbed him, and threw him into a cell. 2 men held him down, 1 on each side. The third guy whispered,
So you like torturing beautiful women, injecting acid, and eating parts of their body. Well, I have something you can eat, and something can eject all down your throat. Does that sound fun to you?
Alfred pleaded.
I didn't kill Jessica Ross. They have the wrong person.
That's what they all say. Too bad for you, pretty boy.
The inmate signals the other.
JJ, you can lube up the back when I'm done. Right now, I want to have fun with his pretty little mouth.
The inmate stands over Alfred.
And you better not bite, or I'll make sure you'll lose all your teeth.
Alfred screamed, but the inmate on the left with a book smacked him across the back of his head. Alfred, dazed, felt helpless. He fell to his knees.
See, you're a good boy, right in position. Crawl a little closer, and don't make me ask you twice.
Alfred, scared and sobbing, crawled closer to the inmate. The inmate grinned and started rubbing the tip of his genitalia over the tears that ran down his face.
Getting it nice and wet for you. Open your mouth so you can taste. Don't make me repeat myself.
What the hell is going on in here?
The officer returned just in time to grab Alfred off his knees and escort him back to his cell. Alfred goes inside his cell, sits on the bottom bunk and whimpers.
I must get out of here.
Detective Henshins has arrived at Vanessa Smith's house, removes his sunglasses, gets out of the car and walks to the front door. The detective can hear someone quickly approaching the door from the other side.
Who is it?
It's Detective Henshins, Conway's Homicide Division. We've spoken before.
Vanessa swings the door open. There stood a slim 5'7", elegant, beautiful woman with reddish blonde hair, even when curled falls waist length, wearing a royal blue fitted dress, tailored to accentuate every curve, with a big, beautiful smile on her face.
Good morning, Vanessa. Are you available to speak?
Good morning, Detective. Yes, of course. Has Alfred confessed?
Caught off guard, the detective responds.
No, I am here to ask you a few more questions.
Me? Well, come on in.
Vanessa ushers the detective to the living room, a very cosy, neat and organised room, too clean to have been used often. But you can tell the room was created as a place to enjoy family time. Big screen TV, beautiful fireplace, and cushy couches. A pumpkin spiced candle was lit, and the smell engulfed the entire room. But nothing can overshadow the smell of Vanessa's perfume. A smell of warm vanilla.
Do you want some coffee? Tea? Hot cocoa?
No, thank you. But thanks for asking. This is an exceptionally beautiful home. Do you and your family spend a lot of time in this room?
The smile fades from Vanessa's face.
We used to, before Alfred became very consumed with work. He started leaving for work before the children awoke and would not be home most nights until the children were asleep.
Vanessa pauses.
But now I know the real reason.
What do you mean by real reason?
Vanessa, confused and angered by the detective's question.
You know what I am talking about. We both know my husband was fucking the psych bitch.
How long did you know about the affair?
Well, he was pretty obvious. You know, he decorated this room himself. Said he wanted a room specifically designed to enjoy his family. At one point, we would have a movie night every Friday. For date night, we would roast marshmallows right there in our fireplace. Then one day it all stopped. He became too busy. Work was always hectic. Or he always had to stay late. I knew something was occurring behind my back, but I could not figure out what. I would question him, but not exactly on infidelity. I would ask him if he still loved me. Did he enjoy spending time with me? But he would always tell me what I wanted to hear. So, 3 months ago, I hired a private investigator.
Vanessa gets up, removes a picture off the wall, revealing a safe. She puts in the code and opens the door, pulls out an envelope and hands it to the detective. The detective opens the envelope and pulls out over 60 photos of Alfred, and each picture labelled with a date and time. Last photo date was 1 week before Jessica's body was found. The detective is astonished by the amount of evidence Vanessa was able to gather on her husband's infidelity, but before he could ask further questions, his phone rang.
Give me 1 moment, Miss Smith.
Detective Henchins answers the phone.
Detective Henchins homicide. How may I help you?
Detective, it's me, Dr. Swan. I need you in my office immediately. Another body's been found. I will give you more details when you arrive. But this time, a tape was included.
I'm on my way.
Detective Henchins gets up and briskly heads towards the door.
Miss Smith, I must go. But if I have any additional questions, I will be in touch. Is it okay if I take these photos with me?
Vanessa opens the front door to escort the detective out.
That's fine with me, Detective. My lawyer already has a copy.
Detective Henchins burst into Dr. Swan's office. Dr. Swan is sitting at his desk with a grotesque look upon his face.
What do you have for me, Doc?
You should brace yourself, Detective. This one is worse than the last.
Dr. Swan begins to walk towards a preparation table. There is a white cloth covering the body lying underneath.
We received a call this morning that a body was found stuffed inside a washer machine within dry and laid laundromat.
Dr. Swan dreadfully pulls the cover back. They both look with dismay. The face of a once beautiful woman has been butchered with staples to create the appearance of a smile. The top part of the torso looked normal, but the hips, legs, and feet were twisted and broken into many pieces.
What's the story? How did this happen? Do we know the victim?
I also found this banana lodged in the throat of the victim, the same as Dr. Jessica Ross. Fingerprints has identified the victim as Kimberly Mays, a local college student. Her roommate reported her missing 3 days ago. The killer included a video. It was specifically addressed to the lead detective, so I have not watched it, but based on the injuries, it looks like the bottom half of Miss Mays was placed inside a washing machine and someone turned it on. The owner of the laundromat confirmed the washing machine where the body was found did not belong to them. Forensics has taken the washing machine to their lab for further investigation. Hopefully they will find fingerprints, hair, something, anything to catch this killer. It looks like we have a serial killer on our hands.
Detective Henchins further investigates the body and notices all of Kimberly's fingers were missing skin and had deep abrasions, as if something or someone had chewed them.
I do not want to classify this as a serial killing yet. That will bring too much media press and would probably fuel the killer. Let's keep the details behind this killing as discreet as possible. One thing for sure, unless Alfred Smith had an accomplice, he cannot be the killer because he has been in jail.
Detective Henchins grabs the tape left by the killer and heads to a secluded office. Dr. Swan also enters the office and closes the door behind himself. Detective Henchins places the tape inside the VCR, and at this moment they are both introduced to the monstrosity known as the Banana Killer. Detective Henchins presses play on the VCR. They both stand behind the desk, waiting anxiously to view what the killer has to say. 45 seconds into the tape. There is still silence and a blank screen. Dr. Swan starts to believe this is all a ruse. The killer left the tape as a joke.
There is nothing on the tape. This is a waste of time.
The detective does not respond. He sits in the chair behind the desk and continues to wait. 2 minutes has gone by.
This is a waste of time. I'm getting back to work.
Dr. Swan turns and heads towards the door. As soon as he opens the door to leave, a blood-wrenching scream releases from the television. He quickly closes the door and rejoins the detective. The screen on the television changes to focus on a woman. Her lower half is stuffed inside a washing machine. In front of her looks to be a tank full of fish.
That's Kimberly Mace.
Are you still there, detective? I know you are. You're such a patient man. I knew you would wait for me.
Detective Henchins can hear the distorted voice of the banana killer, but he does not appear on screen. Only Kimberly Mays, sobbing and beaten, awaiting her fate.
Why do people lie? Do people even take their lives and the commitments they make seriously anymore? I have so many questions for this world, so I decided to ask a select few. Of course, not now. Not while they're in this situation, but way before we even got here. So many times I've been told to mind my business, as if they weren't flaunting their deceptions in the streets. So much audacity. So much shame they knowingly bring to themselves and their families, but it never changes their decisions. The woman always tells me the same thing. He made a commitment, not me. I have no loyalty to that woman. He does. Then turn around and take part in the hurt that will be caused upon another. Where does it stop, detective? There's no true consequence for adultery. What if death was the consequence? Do you believe people would still commit it? Or do you believe people would be more honest, more considerate when making such decisions? I know I probably would never hear your answers, but it's such a great conversation to have.
The banana killer takes the camera and moves it closer to Kimberly's face. The detective could tell that Kimberly's jaw was broken. Her jawline was black and blue. One eye was swollen shut and blood ran down her face from a deep gash found on top of her forehead.
You looked so cozy inside the diner. Did you enjoy your dinner?
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
Sorry for what? What could you have done wrong?
I knew Tom was married. I knew about his children. I knew about his life, and I still fell in love with him.
The banana killer pushed a button on the washing machine. The agitators begin to twist the wash basket, slowly crushing Kimberly's legs. The banana killer turns the machine off.
Love? You loved him? You loved his money. You loved his lifestyle. You loved the possibility of an easy life. But there's no way you love that man. You can't love anyone. You don't even love yourself. A person who loves themselves would never accept crumbs. Where did this man sleep every night? Where did this man wake up every morning? Where did this man spend his holidays? And who was this man lying to? Or not you. He knew he could tell you anything because he knew you didn't give a fuck. As long as you had the newest shoes, tuition paid, and he could give you a wet ass, you would settle. That man didn't love you. You were his sex toy. Since he can't find you, who do you think he's with now? Do you think he's sobbing? No, he's not.
The banana killer pulls out a phone and shows Kimberly a live video. On the video, Tom is at home sitting on the couch rubbing the feet of his wife. Detective Henchins is alerted that there may be a camera hidden inside Tom Ford's home, but he does not react. He cannot seem to stop watching the punishment being inflicted upon Kimberly Mays.
You see? And later tonight, he will be enjoying his wife like he always has for the last 15 to 20 years. But you will be dead.
I cannot watch anymore. Poor girl.
Dr. Swan quickly leaves the room before he could see what the banana killer has planned next.
Shut up that crying! You weren't crying when his wife was waiting up late at night, waiting for her husband to come home. You weren't crying when his children asked, "Where is Daddy?" And she looked with tears in her eyes and said, "I don't know." So don't cry now.
The banana killer turns on the washing machine. The sound of bones crushing radiates throughout the room. Jessica's screams are horrific.
Now that sounds so much better.
Kimberly is in so much pain she grabs for the fish tank in front of her in order to pull herself out of the washing machine. As soon as she grabs the fish tank, the fish instantly begin to eat away at the flesh on her fingers. The detective realizes the fish tank is full of piranhas. The blood on her hands and the fish eating away at her fingers has made it impossible for Kimberly to escape the death trap created by the banana killer. The washing machine does a final spin before there was a loud crack and no more movement from Kimberly. The tape cuts off. For a moment, the detective is frozen in shock. The banana killer has left the detective speechless. He snaps out of it and at once calls for backup.
Officers, the home of Tom Ford needs to be searched. There is a hidden camera that has been placed within his home, and it needs to be found.
As the detective leaves the office to go to the home of Tom Ford's, he calls a judge for a warrant, but a very gruesome fact also crosses the detective's mind.
This killer will kill again and again. He must be stopped.
Detective Henchins has arrived at the home of Tom Ford. He enters the home and notices the police is searching through each room for hidden cameras. Tom's wife and children, baffled, sits on the couch within the living room. The detective notices Mr. Ford is not home, but the living room is the same area that was shown on the tape. Detective Henchins begins to look up to the ceiling, his eyes scaling every inch of the wall. He notices a motion detector has been placed in the far left upper corner of the room. He orders the nearest police officer to retrieve the item. Detective Henchins examines the motion detector and discovers a small camera hidden within.
Mrs. Ford, where is your husband?
Please call me Tina. I don't know. Tom hasn't been home in 3 days. He left a message on the answer machine saying he had a work trip and he'll return next week. He hasn't called to check in, but I chalked it up to him working. I know it's demanding being a lawyer. He has spent plenty of late nights researching and preparing for upcoming cases. I have become accustomed to the lack of time we're able to spend together. Is everything okay with Tom?
We need to find your husband and ask him a few questions. Could you provide me a number I can reach him? Also, could you make a list of everyone who has entered your home within the last 6 months? A hidden camera has been found within your home, and we need to find out who put it there.
Shocked, Tina quickly writes down her husband's contact information and hands it to the detective.
A hidden camera? Why would someone hide a camera within my home? What's going on?
The detective hands Tina his business card, shakes his head and starts to walk toward the front door.
We don't have any answers right now, but I'll reach back out if I have further questions.
As the detective exits the home, he notices a front door camera. He turns back to face Tina Ford and points to the camera.
Is this camera always recording?
Yes. I haven't had a reason to check the footage in a while, but it is always recording.
Could you send me the recordings for the last 6 months?
The memory only holds storage for 14 days. I can send you that information. Should I be worried? Is my family in danger?
No, you shouldn't be worried. I don't believe you or your children are a target.
Well, I'm going to leave and stay with my mom for a few weeks, at least until Tom comes home.
Tina writes down her contact information on a piece of paper found on the coffee table and hands it to the detective.
Here is my number and the address if you need to reach me.
Thank you.
Detective Henchins leaves the home and decides to call the number Tina gave him to reach Tom Ford. A woman answers the phone.
Hello?
Hello! This is Detective Henshins from Conway's Homicide Department. May I please speak to Tom?
Oh, thank God. Have you found the bastard? Have you found whoever killed this poor man? We found his phone after the police left and decided to keep it in case it was needed for the investigation.
Detective Henshins is confused. He pauses for a moment to evaluate the information he's receiving.
Investigation? Poor man. I'm not following what you're talking about. I need to speak with Tom Ford pertaining to my investigation.
Well, if the man that owns this phone is named Tom Ford, then he's dead.
Dead?
Yes, dead. Someone ran him over with a truck in our parking lot 3 days ago. Just left his body mangled in the street. The victim didn't have any identification on him. We've been holding his phone, waiting for the police or family to call to retrieve it.
Who am I speaking to, and where did this incident occur?
I am Cynthia, the owner of Pinky Swinky, the bar located on 5th Street. The hit-and-run incident happened within my parking lot. The police took our statements, but the cameras were malfunctioning that day, so we didn't have the murder recorded.
Terrible day for your cameras to not work. It's law for every bar in Conway to have working cameras.
I'm aware, Detective. It just so happened that our cameras were being serviced this day. The maintenance woman was missing a piece needed for the repairs and scheduled to return the next day. The incident coincidentally occurred that night.
Detective Henshins thought to himself,
There's no such thing as coincidence. Do you have the contact information for the maintenance company, specifically the woman?
Yes, I do. Give me a moment.
The detective can hear Cynthia fumbling through some papers.
Here it goes. I remember her handing me a card number Terriel Service 501-4379898.
Thank you. Do you remember Mr. Ford Dominier that night? Did anything seem unusual about him to you?
I never got his name, but he was a regular. I used to always see him at the bar every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Usually, a young blonde woman would accompany him, but this night he was alone. I did notice that he kept checking his phone, and he was frequently grumbling to the bartender about his girlfriend not speaking to him. He told the bartender he hasn't been able to reach her in over a week, and that he believes she may be dead. He was pretty drunk, so the bartender stopped serving him around 10 p.m. He became angry and stumbled out the door, and that was the last time I saw him until I heard screams in the parking lot. Such awful screams. I could never get them out of my head.
Sorry for making you relive such a horrendous experience, but I need to know, were there any witnesses?
Just one, a lady named Tiara Jensen. She said Tom was stumbling across the street, so she was walking towards him to assist. Then out of nowhere, a big black truck going full speed ran into Mr. Ford and just kept going. His blood and guts splattered all over her face. He landed headfirst directly in front of her. She said she saw his life leave his body. Poor girl. She was in so much shock by what she had witnessed that she never got the license tag number. I will never forget her dreadful scream.
The bar owner goes silent.
I'm quite sure the responding officers got Miss Jensen's information. Thank you for speaking to me this evening. I will have an officer there soon to retrieve Mr. Ford's phone. Our department also provides grief and trauma services. Please reach out.
I'll look into that. Thank you, Detective.
Vanessa Smith walks to the front door.
Who is it?
It's me, honey. Alfred.
Vanessa exhales slowly and opens the door. Alfred is standing in front of her with a charming smile and a big bouquet of flowers. Vanessa doesn't smile. She just stares.
Hey, baby. I told you I didn't hurt that girl. I've been released from jail and fully cleared. May I come in?
No, you don't live here anymore, Alfred.
Daddy!
Alfred's daughter and son rushes towards the door as soon as they heard their dad's voice. Vanessa steps out of the way, and the children push past her to embrace their dad.
We missed you so much, Daddy. We're so happy you're home.
Vanessa leaves the front door and goes to sit inside the living room. Alfred enters the house carrying one child in each arm.
I missed y'all too. You both have gotten so big. I feel like I haven't seen any of you in forever. How's school been? What have I missed?
Both children overtalk each other as they try to answer their dad's questions.
One at a time. Matter of fact, we have all night. Let me speak to your mom for a moment.
Okay, Daddy. We'll be upstairs. Don't forget to come talk.
I will never forget to talk to either of you ever again.
Both children give Alfred a hug and run upstairs. Alfred enters the living room where Vanessa is sitting and sits on the couch beside her.
Do you remember when we bought this house? We designed this room specifically for our family.
I don't want to go down memory lane with you. I want you out of my home. I'm going to redecorate this entire room.
Vanessa, I know you're angry with me. I'm angry with myself, but can you please forgive me? I made a mistake.
A mistake. You basically ruined our entire family, and now you call it a mistake. Was it a mistake before your bitch died, or is it now a mistake because your bitch is dead?
All of it was a mistake. Ever putting myself in a position to lose you or my family is the biggest mistake in my life.
Well, Alfred, I'm not mentally prepared to live within your mistake. I need some time.
I don't want to rush your healing process. I just want you to heal. And I want my family back. I will do whatever you need me to do to make this entire situation up to you. Anything.
Leave. Right now, all I want is for you to leave.
Sure. I'm renting a 3-bedroom Airbnb inside a building a couple of miles away. I really want you and my family back, Vanessa.
Alfred writes down his address on a piece of paper sitting on the living room table. Vanessa ignores his pleas.
Come past tomorrow while the children are in school, and we can discuss a visitation schedule. You can take the children to your house tomorrow after school.
That's fine.
Alfred realizes Vanessa is not ready to drop her guards. He gets up, leaves the living room, and walks to the front door.
Zach, Marie!
Both children come running down the steps towards Alfred.
Hey, Dad, where are you going?
I'm staying in a house a few blocks away for now, but I'll be back tomorrow to pick you both up and spend some time with you.
Why can't you stay here, Daddy?
Because I made an unwise decision, sweetheart, and my punishment is time away from all of you. Daddy's in timeout.
I hope you get out soon, Daddy.
Marie starts to laugh and kisses Alfred goodbye. Alfred hugs both of his children goodbye and looks at Vanessa.
I hope so too, sweetheart.
Alfred Smith enters his new apartment. It looked organized, just an average Airbnb. Oversized welcome mat and mediocre home decor. Nevertheless, he was simply happy to be out of that vile jail environment. He kicks off his shoes at the door, walks into the small living room and sits on the couch.
Finally feel so exhausted. I hope there's something good to watch on the television.
Alfred flicks through the channels and catches a glimpse of Jessica on the news. He pauses and listens.
Another murder has taken place in Conway. Last Saturday, the body of Kimberly Mays has been discovered inside a local laundromat. Her family has gathered to grieve.
Another murder?
An overwhelming intuition befalls Alfred. He starts to suspect whoever killed Kimberly Mays is the same killer of Dr. Jessica Ross. But to avoid further thoughts of Jessica, Alfred changes the channel and starts to watch late-night cartoons. As soon as he got comfortable, there was a knock on the door.
Who could this be? I'm not expecting anyone.
Alfred walks to the door and looks out of the peephole. There was an elderly man standing there, but he didn't recognize him.
Who is it?
Maintenance? Are you the renter Alfred Smith? The owner scheduled this call due to an issue with the heating system.
Alfred didn't have an issue with the temperature, but he wasn't in the mood to argue. He was happy to be free. He opened a door to greet the elderly man.
Yes, I'm Alfred. Come on in.
As soon as Alfred finished speaking, the elderly man handed him an envelope.
You've been served.
The elderly man briskly walks away and leaves Alfred standing there in shock. Alfred yells at the elderly man as he enters the elevator.
What the fuck for?
The elderly man waves and the elevator doors closes. Alfred opens the envelope and discovers divorce papers. He begins to sob, but there's another knock at the door. Alfred angrily swings the door open, But this time there is not an elderly man standing there. This time he is greeted by the hooded figure wearing a monstrous mask.
What the fuck is this?
The banana killer sprays bleach in Alfred's eyes. He begins to scream.
Now you are blind to your sins.
The banana killer punches Alfred in the face. Alfred stumbles back, clutching his nose. The killer steps inside the apartment and slams the door behind him. Grabs Alfred by the hair, knees him in the back, forcing Alfred to kneel, pulls his head back and dumps the remaining spray bottle of bleach inside his mouth and nose. Alfred begins to choke and gag.
Now you can taste your hurt. Will you forgive me for what I have done to you? Will you?
The banana killer throws Alfred on the ground and leaves. Alfred slumps to the ground, gasping for air, blinded to the world. Bill has anger issues. Bill enters the supermarket.
Hey, Bill. How are you doing today?
Fuck you, Sarah. Stop talking to me.
Bill keeps walking, while Sarah keeps working.
Hey, Bill. Do you need help finding anything today?
Hey, Tony. Did I ask for your damn help? Next time, wait for me to speak to you before you happily come bothering me.
Tony got annoyed and walks away. Bill gets home from the store.
Dang, I forgot the spaghetti noodles. I bought everything but spaghetti noodles.
He throws the bags.
Nothing ever goes right for me.
Bill goes back to the store.
Hey, Bill, make sure you watch out for the wet spot on the floor.
Bill angrily ignores Sean and briskly walks in the store. Ignores the caution wet sign and slips on the ground. Falls right on his butt and yells.
Ouch! Why the hell is the floor wet?
Sean and Tony rush to his side.
Bill, are you okay? Do you need help up?
What the hell happened? Why isn't there a sign here?
Sean points to the sign.
Sorry, Bill, I also tried to warn you as you came in.
Bill angrily looks around, limps over to the pack of spaghetti noodles, limps to the register and throws the money on the counter.
Nothing ever goes right for me. What is wrong with you people?
Bill leaves the store, limping. Meanwhile, Tony and Sean is shocked by what they've just witnessed. Attracted by the commotion, Sarah pauses to watch Bill's unsteady departure. In the background, she overhears Tony and Sean discussing the details of the incident.
That guy is always mean.
I guess he didn't fall hard enough. Knock some niceness into him.
Tony and Sean both laughed.
Hey, I heard y'all talking about Bill. He wasn't always so mean. A few years ago, around New Year's Eve, Bill traveled to North Carolina to visit his family. His mom, dad, 2 brothers and their families. He was very excited to go. Everyone was staying at his mom's house to bring in the new year. He couldn't get there until the next day, so he planned to drive throughout the night. He still wanted to bring in the new year with his family, so they decided to count down together on FaceTime. Well, when it was time for him to make the call, his phone didn't have service. His phone lost service 5 minutes before the ball dropped, and he never got service back until 10 minutes after the new year started. Once he received service, he called his family, but no one answered. He thought to himself, it was late, so maybe everyone fell to sleep. He only had 4 hours left to drive, and he had a key to his parents' house, so he wasn't worried. He arrived to his parents' house as he expected. Everyone was asleep. All of the adults had fell to sleep on the couch. He noticed his 2 nieces asleep in the guest room. He entered his old bedroom. It smelled kind of stale, so he opened both of his room windows, laid on the bed, and quickly fell to sleep. The next morning, he woke up around noon, but he noticed the house was still quiet. Known as the jokester of his family, He opened his room door and yelled Happy New Year's. But no one ever answered. He came out the room and found his mom, dad, 2 brothers, and their wives cold on the couch. He rushed to the guest room and found his nieces the same. He immediately ran out of the house and called 911. His entire family had died from carbon monoxide poisoning. The only reason he survived was because he opened both windows in his room. He wished he died with his family. Since then, he became another person, and he always says nothing ever goes right for me. I don't think he wants to be mean. I just don't believe he knows how to deal with his loss. He feels lonely, he feels guilt, he misses his family, and no matter what he does, he never feels right.
Tony wipes tears from his eyes.
I would have never known Bill was holding all of that.
Is there anything we can do?
I really don't know. I'm not a therapist, but as his friend, I just don't hold anything against him because I can't understand the pain he's going through.
When my mom lost my dad a few years ago, my aunt got her a dog. It definitely helped with her grief process. I may have the perfect dog for Bill. There's a 6-month-old puppy in our neighborhood. His mom was hit by a car a few weeks ago, and now the puppy won't let anyone get close to it. Maybe Bill and the puppy need each other.
Great idea, Tony. But how are we going to get Bill to your neighborhood?
Leave that to me. I'll have Bill meet me at your house. Believe it or not, Bill really is a nice guy. I'll just ask him for a ride. He'll fuss, but he'll come.
The next day, Sarah, Sean, and Tony put their plan into motion. Everyone met at Tony's house. Tony showed Sarah and Sean where the puppy was hiding. Sarah called Bill.
Hey Bill, I hate to be a burden, but my car broke down on Cherry LN, and I don't have anyone else to call. Can you pick me up, please?
What? Why don't you call Uber? Do I look like a taxi to you?
Please, Bill, I don't have much money.
I'm on my way.
Bill hangs up. 10 minutes later, Bill pulls up.
Come on, get in the car. I don't have all day.
Bill, there's a puppy trap behind the shed over there. His mom was hit by a car a few weeks ago, and the puppy won't come out. It's rarely eating.
Call animal control. What do you want me to do?
As soon as Bill said this, the puppy came running from behind the shed, scared. It was being chased by 2 raccoons. The puppy was running towards traffic. Bill jumped out of the car, grabbed his cane, sprinted towards the puppy, swooped it up, and started swinging his cane like crazy.
Get back!
Yelled Bill. The raccoons ran off. The puppy, shaking and scared, burled itself into Bill's arms. Bill felt something he had not felt in a while. Bill felt needed. Saving the puppy gave Bill a sense of belonging. Then he turned to Sarah.
I'm going to take this little guy to the vet and make sure he's okay.
Bill tried to put the puppy in the back seat, but the puppy refused to let him go. At that moment, Bill knew he needed this puppy as much as the puppy needed him. Bill smiled.
It's Time for School, written by Dominique Doy and Damien Doy, sponsored by Sticky Eyes Readers. Lynn wakes up with excitement. School time is here. Brush your teeth and wash your face. Cereal and a muffin for breakfast? Such a treat. Mommy tells Lynn, I have picked out your clothes for you. Lynn asks Mommy, will you help me get dressed for school? Black socks, blue pants, a green dinosaur shirt, and a black jacket. Mommy puts 1 sock on, then 2. Next are Lynn's pants, the color blue. Lynn reaches for the sky, and Mommy says, roar! Put on your shirt, my little green dinosaur. Mommy helps Lynn with his black jacket, then his white shoes. Now Lynn is all ready for school. Grab your book bag and have a wonderful day. The school bus is here. Don't be late, says Mom. Len gives Mom a hug, then skips on his way. It's time for school, and today is a great day. The end. Day Day's First Words. Written by Damien and Dominique Doy. A part of the collection of Sticky Eyes Readers. Day Day hums, Day Day dances and jumps up and down. He's so happy. Day Day loves the park, and riding the swings is his favorite. He walks to the swing and puts his hands up. Say up, says Mama. But Day Day jumps around. No words today, says Mom, as she pushes the swing. Day Day wants to rest, so he and Mom sit by a tree. Say Mama, Day Day. Day Day smiles. No words today, says Mom, as she gives him a hug. Day Day walks Daddy to the slide. Say wee as you go down the slide, Day Day. Day Day goes down the slide, but he claps his hands. No words today, says Dad, as he helps Day Day slide again. Day Day and Daddy takes a rest. Say Dada, Day Day. Day Day sticks out his tongue. No words today, says Dad, as he gives him a hug. The family is ready to go home after a long day at the park. Daddy and Day Day race to the car. Say car, Day Day, asks Daddy. But Day Day jumps in the car and kicks off his shoes. No words today, says Dad, as he buckles Day Day's seatbelt. We're home, says Dad. It's time to get out of the car. Say out, Day Day, asks Mama. Day Day plays asleep and starts to giggle. No words today, says Mama, as she giggles too. Mama hears Day Day's stomach growl. Say I'm hungry or eat, Mama asks Day Day. Day Day begins to cry. No words today, says Dad, as he feeds Day Day dinner. Mama gives Day Day a bath. Daddy dries him off. Day Day begins to yawn. It's time for bed, says Mama. Say I'm sleepy, Day Day. Day Day wipes his eyes and whines. No words today, says Mom, as Day Day falls asleep. The doctor said Day Day should be able to say at least 5 words, but Day Day won't speak at all. I'm starting to worry, says Mom. Dad gives Mom a hug and says Day Day is just a baby, and he will speak when he is ready. Don't rush him and don't worry. Everyone learns at their own pace. Mama kisses Day Day a good night and says, we love you. Maybe you'll talk tomorrow. Day Day smiles, look at Mama and Daddy, and says no. Day Day's first words was no, said Dad. I guess we do have words today, said Mom with a smile. They all just laughed. The end. Message from our writers. All children learn and develop at their own pace, their own speed. The most important aspects of life is happiness, love, and care. Stop worrying and love on your child because this time is precious. Everything will come in time.